Hello everyone, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to use Storyblok as a CMS for your no-code apps in Bubble. Now to do that, we're going to build a web page that contains content from our VR retail store proof of concept. We're going to include a logo, some product details, a 3D model, and even augmented reality capabilities, all without writing a single line of code. Yes, that's true. So let's go ahead and jump into Bubble here. And this is where we're going to get started. Now, first of all, we need a couple plugins for this to work. So the first one we have here is a 3D model viewer. This is available for purchase within Bubble, and you can use it in your projects. So we bought it for this. And then we also have our API connector. This is the key way that we're getting a connection to Storyblok so we can get content to work with. So let's go ahead and add an API so that we can start building something. And we'll just call this test. And what we're going to do now is add a call to it. So one of the main things we want to add is just a logo to the store. So let's call this call logo. Now, how do we get the information to fill in here? So we go back to Storyblok. In general data, this is where our logo exists. So to get what we need, we're going to get the published JSON. So here's what we get connected to a Bubble here. And from the URL, we're going to delete some of the versioning information here, right here. So just that we always get the current information. So let's do that. Now we can copy that URL, paste it in, and simply initialize the call. And now what Bubble did is it went ahead and parsed that information, got all the different information for us to use now, and it's built into Bubble, just that easy. So we'll save it. And now we also need to add the API call to get our product information. Let's do that. Let's just go ahead and call this product. And again, we go back to Storyblok. We're going to find the product we want to use that's in static here. We'll view the published JSON. And then again, we will get rid of the versioning from the URL. So here we get the most dynamic live content. We'll copy that URL and we will paste it in product and initialize the call, just like we did before. Once again, all the information came straight in and it's ready to be used. So that's as easy as it is. Now let's start building something. That's why we're here. So our blank canvas, the first thing we want to do is add a logo, a Storyblok logo that's coming from the API. So that is an image element. So let's add that to the canvas. Now we're going to be using it as a dynamic image. So insert dynamic data. And then we're getting that data from an external API, the one that we connected. The API provider, remember we called it test and logo. So we click that. And now we click here to pick which field we want to pull in to the app. So obviously it's the field store logo is what we had called it. We do that. And now it's as simple as centering that and we have our logo. We'll see this when we preview, but it's on the canvas for now. Now the next thing we want to do is add a product name. So that's going to be a text field. So we add that. And again, this is dynamic data. So let's go ahead and find that. We're getting it from an external API. We're going to get it from the test product API call that we have here. And then the name of this is sign text. That's the title, static object coming from the API. That's what we had called it. So there's that. Now we're going to make this a little bit bigger. So let's make it, say, 24 pixels. And then we're going to center that as well. So we've got a logo, we've got the title, and now it's where it gets even more interesting. We're going to add our 3D model. So when we added that plugin for the 3D model viewer, here's what it is, the model viewer. And again, how are we getting this information? Well, it's coming from the API. The model URL we're going to display is from the API. So let's insert dynamic data. Let's call an API. It's in the product API call. And then we're looking for the asset file. The asset file for that product is right here. And that's what's going to load when we view that 3D viewer. So let's load the asset file. Now this looks pretty large, so what we're going to do is adjust it a little bit here. So let's make it, let's say 350 pixels by 400. And again, we want to center that. Okay. So now it's coming together. We only actually have one more thing we want to do, which is the product details about that product model that we loaded. So let's do one more time, some product text. Let's add it below. It's dynamic data, as we know. Calling an API, we're calling the product API again. This time the field we want is product details for that static object. So there we go. And in this case, we're going to make it centered again. And then we're going to make the width of this a little bit bigger. So let's say 350 pixels will do. All right. So we actually have our app ready. We have a Storyblok logo, the logo from the API right up here. We have the product title here. We have the 3D image of the model for the product, and then we have some details about the product, all on the page. Now let's actually take a look and see what this looks like. There we go. Everything built with Storyblok. It pulled it straight from the API that we had connected, the logo, the title, the 3D image. Now notice that 3D plugin is letting us fully manipulate that object. It's the same one that we saw in the VR demo. And now it's live on our sample e-commerce store, able to be fully manipulated. And then of course our product details. Now what's even more interesting is not just the desktop version of this. So we can actually now go to the mobile version and let's see what the product looks like in augmented reality. Well, I hope this demo has been interesting for you, and I'd encourage you to go to storyblok.com today so you can learn how you can connect your no-code projects with Storyblok.